So I've been holding off making a video about some of this stuff for a little bit. We're now 2.5 weeks into Season 7, the latest season on Delta Force, and I wanted to talk particularly about some of the bugs that are present on the console version of the game on Xbox and on PS5 that have been there since the season went live. I wanted to wait and see if the devs would get a hotfix out, fix some of these critical issues, and they don't seem to have done that. 2.5 weeks into the season, we're basically a quarter of the way into the entire season yet, and we don't really have any update on any of this stuff being fixed. For example, one of the biggest issues at the moment is on the console version of the game. If you go over to your gunsmith and we select one of our guns that we have a build for, so say the C19 here, and we go over to loadouts, you'll notice that there's no option at all in the bottom right for import export. There used to be a button down here for importing and exporting gun codes. With the latest seasonal update, this just disappeared completely. It's not present on console. You can't currently import or export any gun builds on the console version of Delta Force, and you haven't been able to do that for 2.5 weeks. And what is also kind of significant is that I haven't really had a good response from the devs on this. I raised all of these issues basically on day one. I've given them videos offering feedback on that, and they've acknowledged that they've seen them. But I haven't really had any response from any of the dev team saying, we're going to address this soon, these were known issues before release, or these are new issues to us. I have no idea of a timeline. I don't know if they're going to fix these this season or just wait till next season. I don't know if maybe this was intentionally removed. Absolutely no idea. It just feels like the console version has been kind of not really cared about. Stuff like this also seems like it would have been picked up by the most basic level of regression testing when they pushed out this release. So I'd be amazed if they didn't know about these bugs when they put it live. And if they didn't know about these bugs, then I would question whether they're really doing any testing on this whatsoever on the console version of the game. So that's very concerning. It's obviously a major feature of the game, being able to import and export gun codes, and you can't do that on console at the moment. And that's not the only issue. A lot of the menus in the game have got worse to navigate with this. You may have noticed when I was trying to select a gun a minute ago that now when you're scrolling on some of these lists, the game gets very confused when you're using the left stick, or try using the D-pad a little bit. If you just use only the D-pad, it's generally kind of okay. But if you start trying to use the cursor and then have used the D-pad a bit, it kind of starts just like flicking around weirdly on these menus. See, I just scroll here and then stop trying to select a gun, and then it just kind of keeps clonking along. I'm not touching anything here, just trying to select a gun, and then it automatically keeps moving up while I'm not even pressing anything. Does this on loads of menus. It's kind of ugly. It's just doing it again, literally not pressing a single button here, and just feels very clunky, and like this interface has just been kind of forced onto the game rather than really designed from the ground up with console in mind. Again, another example of these weird menus on the controller or console version of the game. If we go to sell something here, for instance, like this camera, we click that with right stick to open this menu, and you have these two options. Previously, you could just press A or X and it would quick select either of these, but now you only have the option to press A. And on top of that, if I select one of these two boxes here and click here, for example, that's going to select auction house, right? That's fine. I pressed A there. But if I go back and do that again, and if I actually move the left stick and I put it over the little button here, which highlights and says A on it, if I put it there and press A, literally nothing happens. You can't select that as a button. That's not a clickable button. You can only select this area here, and then this bit is just a nothing, but it says A on it, and it makes no sense, and it absolutely infuriates me. It's so weird and janky and just messy. Again, this menu works kind of okay if you just use the D-pad and don't use the cursor to an extent, apart from when it starts doing whatever the hell it started doing here. Maybe I spoke too soon, but that was using the D-pad, and we've somehow found some mystery menu going on in the background here. There's a couple of bits I'm going to show you in-game as well, some other significant new bugs that have been implemented on the console version, or accidentally implemented, I guess I should say. Another thing I've noticed that's kind of weird is the queue time, the queue estimation timer. So I don't know if this is on PC as well, but on the console version, when you queue for a game at the top, it sometimes says estimated queue time now, but this seems completely random. Like maybe 1 in 4 games, it'll pop up and say estimated queue time 120 seconds or whatever, which is a nice feature to have. but it only seems to really appear just randomly. It doesn't really seem to make any sense when it appears and when it doesn't. So I have no idea what's going on with that. I haven't had any information from the devs on what's going on there. Another minor issue is that the creator code button is missing on console. On PC, down in the bottom left here behind my face. If we hide that for a sec, there's a button on PC saying add creator code or support a creator, where you can add creator codes like mine, Beard Guys, and other people's. There's a few other creators who have got creator codes now, but on console that button is just completely missing and you can't put it in. Another issue that's been pretty annoying for console players, I've seen this a lot, I don't know what other people's experience with it is that just interacting with doors and stuff like that is very buggy this season. A lot of times when you're going up to open and close doors or open containers, the first time you press the button to do something, it's just not doing it. For instance, there, I've just gone up to this door twice. That was the third time that I pressed X there on that door. And again, just pressed it again. Nothing happened. Nothing happened that time, or that time, or that time, and that time it opened. So interacting with stuff is completely busted, and you have to keep spamming buttons to make it do stuff. It's very weird. I think this is all to do with a new setting that they've put in, which is prioritize reload and stuff like that. So this was advertised in the dev letter about console specific features for this new update. So this is a brand new feature that's gone in. You assume this would have been thoroughly tested on a console version of the game before being pushed live, and you can now select between reload behavior. So behind my head here it says reload interact behavior, and then you can select between these 4 different options: press to reload, hold to interact, press to interact, hold to reload, or prioritize interact and prioritize reload. And some of these settings are basically just completely broken. So prioritize reload, for example, what should happen here is that if I'm by a door and I don't need to reload, then it should be a tap to interact with that. So tap and X, and you can see in the middle it shows the tap icon, the hold icon, the different icon I'll show you in a minute. So it's showing you the tap icon to interact with that. If I fire my gun off, it's still going to show that icon, but if I tap X, it's going to reload my gun. So that is fine. But if I don't need to reload my gun, like at the minute, and I tap X, nothing happens. And actually, if I keep mashing it, nothing really happens until I hold it in. So it's actually changed this to a hold to interact. So what is happening here is that it's tap to reload, but then hold to interact, which is not what it should be. It should be a tap to open this door if I don't need to reload my gun, but I should be able to open it by holding, which is correct when I have a mag to reload. So what that setting really is doing is not prioritizing reloading. It's just setting it to press to reload, hold to interact. It's the exact same behavior as that. And if I change it to this setting, this is going to show the correct icons. You can see in the middle here, it shows the hold X to interact button, and that's a hold, and that's working fine. That's what you'd expect it to do. If I tap, it's going to reload. And then if we hold, it's going to open. But as you can see, that previous one, just completely broken, doesn't do what it's meant to do at all. And on top of that, we have this issue where when you have certain ones of these set, you find that whenever you're running around, you just end up having to mash X over and over sometimes to open doors. Sometimes it works fine. Other times you have to press multiple times to open containers, open doors, open inventory, stuff like that. And it just seems very janky and stuff that you feel would have been noticed very quickly with even some quite basic testing performed on this build before it went live. I'm sure there's other issues out there. Please flag any that you might have, whether it's a PC or console. I know the devs will watch this and they'll be interested to hear that. I'm hoping that by flagging this more publicly, it might prompt the devs to address some of these issues and maybe try and fix them. Let us know if they're going to hot fix it or if we're going to wait till next season. It seems crazy to me that particularly the import-export stuff has been broken for 2.5 weeks with no word of fixing that on console. As I said before, it feels very much like the console version has been a little bit forgotten and sort of deprioritized, I guess, by the dev team at the moment. They seem to be putting time into a lot of other things, and the console version is being a little bit left by the wayside, which I think is particularly bad at the moment for the game because we have all this other stuff out with Ark Raiders, with Battlefield BR, stuff like that. We've got some other stuff coming out soon, all available on console. And when the devs are kind of just leaving big glaring bugs in the game for so long after a new season update, it just makes things look a bit shoddy and not really well cared about, not well looked after. And that's going to push people away from the game, and they're going to go and play these other new games and they're maybe not going to come back and play Delta Force. And I'd like them to play Delta Force. It's very fun to play. I'm playing it once a week at the moment and enjoying that, particularly when I can play solos. So it's a real shame to see the console version get a little bit neglected like this. But let me know what you think. I just wanted to put this out there. Be interested to hear your feedback. Hope you're enjoying whatever games you're playing at the moment. If you want to watch me play some Delta, I'll be streaming some tomorrow on Friday the 5th of December. And then next week's going to be a mix of Arc Raiders, and then I'll also be checking out the new PUBG extraction shooter, PUBG Black Budget, next Friday as well, as they have a test where I can stream and make some content about that. Cheers for watching, drop a like if you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you next time.